They weren't armed with rifles. They didn't storm enemy trenches. They didn't pull triggers or throw grenades. But they died just the same. These are the men of the Royal Army Medical Corps. Men who ran toward the wounded and not away from danger. Men who carried stretchers under fire, patched broken bodies in mud-filled dugouts, and worked without sleep to save others. This is a story of 3 of them. 3 Royal Army Medical Corps soldiers, 3 lives cut short in the act of healing. They didn't go to war to take life, but they gave their own. George Leonard Boy was born in 1896, the son of George and Emily Boys of Maida Vale, London. When war broke out, he didn't hesitate. Just a week after Britain declared war, George enlisted on the 11th of August 1914. He was posted to the Royal Army Medical Corps and assigned to one of the early field medical teams heading to the Western Front. On the 15th of January 1915, he boarded the SS Tintoretto in Southampton and landed at Le Havre the following day. Barely 2 months later, while helping to evacuate the wounded, George himself was wounded in action. He was taken to hospital, but his injuries were too severe. On the 4th of April 1915, Private George Leonard Boy died of his wounds. He was just 19 years old. He now rests in the Ramparts Cemetery, Lille Gate, a small walled cemetery tucked beside the ramparts of Ypres. His grave bears the words chosen by a grieving family, "My son." That says everything. Alfred Alexander was born in 1897 in Fetcham, Surrey, and later lived in Eastbourne, Sussex. He was the son of Thomas and Harriet Alexander. Before the war, he worked as a gardener. But duty called, and on the 3rd of October 1915, Alfred enlisted into the Royal Army Medical Corps. He was assigned to the 132nd Field Ambulance, part of the 44th Home Counties Division. The unit landed in France in early 1916 and was responsible for evacuating the wounded from the frontline dressing stations back to casualty clearing points, a lifeline for thousands. Alfred arrived at the front in January 1916. He was just 18. That September, the Battle of the Somme was raging. On the 3rd, Alfred was bringing a wounded comrade through the trenches when a shell burst overhead. A letter from his comrade, Private M.H. King, described what happened. While bringing in a wounded comrade down the trenches, a shell burst over them and Alec was killed. There was very little hope for him, and he passed peacefully away in a few minutes. Another letter told his mother, "He was quite cheerful to the last. He spoke of you in his last words and asked me to write to you." Private Alfred Alexander was just 19 years old. He was laid to rest in Knightsbridge Cemetery, Mesnil-Martinsart. He had no weapon, but he died saving someone who did. Alfred George Theobald was born in 1896 in Sudbury, Suffolk, and lived in Haverhill. The son of Harry and Harriet Elizabeth Theobald, he joined the Royal Army Medical Corps shortly after war was declared. He was posted to the 36th Field Ambulance and arrived in France on the 30th of May 1915. He served the entirety of the war as a stretcher bearer through the battles of Loos, the Somme, Passchendaele and the 100 Days Offensive. For over 3 years, Alfred faced shellfire, carried the mangled and dying, and worked to exhaustion without complaint. But in 1918, a new enemy had arrived, the Spanish flu. In the cramped, unsanitary conditions of the front, influenza spread rapidly. Alfred continued working, caring not just for the wounded, but now the sick. Then he fell ill himself. was admitted to the 42nd Casualty Clearing Station, temporarily set up in the Hotel Dieu Hospital in Douai on the 6th of November. He died 4 days later. It was the 10th of November 1918, the day before the armistice, and the guns prepared to fall silent. However, Alfred's body did. He was just 22 years old. He now lies in Douai British Cemetery, Cuincy. His grave bears the inscription, chosen by those who mourned him, "Gone but not forgotten." Three men, 3 lives, and 3 acts of bravery, not marked by gunfire, but by care. Boys, Alexander and Theobald, didn't go to war to fight. They went to serve, to lift the wounded, to bring hope, to hold the hands of dying men who might otherwise have been alone. And they gave everything. They weren't called heroes. Their medals may have been quiet ones, standard campaign awards given to all who served, but their courage speaks volumes. If you found this story meaningful, please subscribe and share it with someone who might not know what the Royal Army Medical Corps endured. And let us know in the comments what you think, if you had a family member in the Royal Army Medical Corps, or if you visited their graves, because memory is an act of honour, and remembrance is something we all carry, lest we forget. If you like listening to the stories of the history of those who came before, then please give the video a like and subscribe to keep updated about future videos of the history of those who came before.